Hello, everybody, and good evening on this Monday in September for another masterclass hosted or organized by Cinoco Spirits and hosted by me, by Jeroen from Meug. I'm very happy to start this again after a long, long summer with lots of rain. But the good thing is we head towards the south, towards Spain, for some nice products from Gonzalez Byass. And we have the perfect person here to guide us through a couple of these drinks. It's not only spirits; it's wines and spirits. He's the guy behind Straightupdrinks. You can call him for anything concerning cocktails. And he's the perfect guy to guide us through anything that is considered that's Gonzalez Byass, I'll say, because he's the last winner of the Tio Pepe Challenge. Mr. Robbe Dupon, welcome.
Welcome. Hi, everybody. Hi, Jeroen. Thank you for the beautiful description of me. I wouldn't say perfect, but
Oh, okay. Well, I think it's perfect. So there you go. But it's true, right? You were the last winner of the Tio Pepe Challenge, which is kind of like the biggest sherry cocktail competition in the world.
100%. So a couple of months ago in May, I did a competition, first here in Belgium. That brought me to the global competition in Jerez de la Frontera and with in the bodega itself. And yeah, there we rocked as Belgium, of course. And yeah, I had I forgot it. I was about to take
The
the
Venencia.
oh no, I do have the Valencia.
Oh, the trophy.
Yes. It's a beautiful
Okay.
work.
Yeah. What was the cocktail you created that won you the competition?
So I had to create first over here in Belgium. I had to create a cocktail that represents the theme of this year, which was Sherry Cask, which is very interesting for this session as well,
Mm-hmm.
of course. So the cocktail that I created is the El Nogal, which just means the walnut in Spanish. El Nogal is a cocktail based on Nomad whiskey. We did a honey butter fat wash on the Nomad whiskey. We added some coffee infused Oloroso cherry, then the Vermouth La Copa, and then to finish it, just a little drop of saline solution. Give it a gentle stir, and at the end, as garnish, we treat some a little drop of walnut oil.
Wow.
So yeah.
So can we have that cocktail in your bar, Robbe?
Yes, indeed. Currently, I am in my little pop-up bar here in Bruges, in the city center of Bruges. We're still open until the end of the month. So
Yeah. Well, you're closed now for the next hour and a half, but you
yes,
should be open normally. Yeah.
yes. After this session, the doors opens.
Everybody go to Bruges then.
Yes, after party.
Yeah. And so then you have the pop-up bar until the end of the month. And what's next for you?
What's next? We're looking for a fixed location here in Bruges to further write our story here in Bruges. And next to that, of course, Straightupdrinks, as you said, everything concerning cocktails, spirits as well, consultancy, all that kind of stuff, workshops, the
Cool
fun
stuff.
stuff.
So everybody here, follow this man, see where he ends up, where his bar ends up, and go visit that bar when you can, or until the end of the month, go to the pop-up bar that's still there. But on to the job for tonight, the hard job we have. It's quite when you look at the lineup, it's quite a sweet lineup, Robin.
Indeed.
So that brings me to I told you I was going to ask you a question that wasn't prepared. So what's the sweetest thing that you ever witnessed?
Already. The
Yes,
the beginning of the session.
of course.
The speed. My girlfriend. No. Pop. Well, drinking wise, I would have to say something that we drink tonight
All
for
right.
the PX.
EX, yeah.
Yeah. That's one of the beautifulest or something sweet wines you can have with the right.
Liquid sugary sunshine.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Something like that. All right, let's put something in people's glasses because we've been talking for too long already. What is the first thing we're going to have, Robbe?
We're gonna start with the driest of the wines, of the fortified wines in the world, and that's the Fino Tio Pepe Fino and Rama. So you can start by looking at the small bottles. Pour you a little glass.
Yeah, Fino and Rama should have been the one that was glued to the top of the box because only 6 bottles fit into the box, so one was glued on top. So that should be the Fino and Rama. While I'm looking for the picture of the bottle, Robbe, I think most people here will know Tio Pepe, the normal, the
The classic
base
bottle.
Tio Pepe. What is different about the Fino and Rama?
So I have a couple of enramas here in the back of me. Fino enrama is basically the same process as a fino, like the Tio Pepe, the classic one. But the only difference is at the end. Normally, like a fino sherry is going to be filtered. The enrama is an unfiltered sherry wine.
Mhm.
So every year they take a couple of barrels in the Solera, and they, of course, they taste everything, and then they make a decision what is good enough to be the Enrama of this year. So yeah, as you see and as you see on the picture, this is one of the labels, and I have 3 different ones, so three different years as well. Yeah.
Yeah, so every year they have a different label for these special editions of the Fino and Rama. I have to confess, I forgot to send an email to everybody that they should actually have chilled this wine before drinking it. Are you going to crucify me now?
I'm afraid so.
Okay.
You, you should be ashamed. No, no.
Yeah, I am actually.
Sherry wine, especially the Pinot, has to be drinking ice cold. Ice cold. I'm saying very cold. So refrigerator.
No.
Let's say between 3 and 4, 5, 6 degrees, something like that, at least.
Yeah.
Then is the sherry at its best, for sure.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I also, of course, I knew our audience, and Jean is saying in the chat that he did chill it beforehand. So we have
Beautiful.
professionals in the audience. So I knew I didn't have to send the email.
But Jeroen, you're not the only one on the day of the competition. Not on the day of the competition, but the day that we entered in Spain. We arrived at the hotel, and the hospitality of Tio Pepe was beautiful, beautifully well thought. They were waiting with a little glass of Tio Pepe at the reception.
Hmm.
But they forgot to communicate that the Tio Pepe had to be cold.
Okay, okay. So in the fancy hotel, I stayed there too last year for the challenge. I was there too. So, okay, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That's an unforgivable mistake in Jerez, I think.
yes. Punishment by no. But yeah, very cold. Why? Because you have a wine before you that has a lot of acidity,
Hmm.
a natural acidity, and just like a lot of white wines in the world, you need to drink them cold because that makes sure the acidity is approachable, is nice, just nice.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you can take over the whole palette.
So everybody in the masterclass tonight, if you have some tasting notes, some reactions, some things you enjoy, put them in the chat, please. Everything that we have from interaction helps us make this a better session. So all your tasting notes can come there. It's something I always say to people as well, Robbe, is sherries like this, the Fino sherries. You should actually just treat them like white wines and not like your auntie or your grandmother does, and put them in the cupboard and takes them out once a year for one glass at Christmas.
100%. So that that's why sherry is not that sexy in Belgium. We want to make it sexy, of course, but you have to start with serving it the right way, and that's indeed cold, and it needs to be a fresh bottle. If you drink it the right way, believe me, the bottle won't last for long.
I think the average we did at the Feria last year was about 45 minutes per bottle, something like that. So.
Something like that. That's how it should be.
Yeah.
That's how it should be. The problem that we have if we open the bottle, especially a Fino sherry, is that the time starts sticking, just like another wine. The oxidation starts, the oxidation process. Fino is a wine that is not made to be oxidized, so it's only going to be worse the day you wait. Of course, you can keep it open for a couple of days in the refrigerator. But the problem that you have right now, if you go to a cafe or a bar or a restaurant, you get a beautifully room temperature sherry wine from from the
from
shelf.
7 weeks ago. Yeah.
So
yeah. There's actually a good question from Jean in the chat. He says, "What is the serving size for a sherry like this? Is this like in a tasting glass like we have now, a spirits tasting glass, or like a wine glass, 10 cl, 15 cl?"
Yeah, so I would go for a wine glass. Give the Fino some room. Give it some room to get in touch with the air. Because if you're drinking it, it's gonna open the nose. So that's very important. Don't serve it in your. I served it in the Glencairn as well for the moment. It's not wrong, but that's not how we drink.
Well, I think there's not many things that are wrong in the drinks business. It's just a matter of optimizing the experience.
100%. Nice that you say that. Most of the times you want to drink it as beautiful as possible, and then I would prefer a wine glass, or that's the preferred glass for a sherry wine.
What I sometimes suggest to people to drink, to enjoy these kinds of wines, is to on a sunny afternoon with friends, put some tapas on the table, like some cheese and some meat, and just serve it like ice cold in ice buckets, but serve it like a white wine to go along with these kinds of foods and snacks.
That's the second sherry that I drank in Jerez was sherry on the swimming pool with some nice tapas. There was a nice bucket, so they redeemed themselves. Was how it should be, and like you said, 45 minutes, not even. And then Fino goes quite fast because it's just a beautiful wine.
It is absolutely. And this one, the difference with the normal Fino or the core range Fino is this has lots more depth and complexity, I would say.
Yeah. So you just have a different profile. So what is in there? It's still a bit of the floor, still a bit of the yeast. So that brings a different character to the wine. I wouldn't say it's more complex. It depends of the year that you're looking. 2021 could be totally different than 22. We're still talking about the same wine, but I'm talking about nuances in the wine. But yeah, it's maybe it's standing out a bit more. Yeah.
Right. I don't see many reactions in the chat. Maybe that will change when we get on with a couple more sherries. So yeah, should we move on to the next one? What do you think?
For me, that's okay if there are no questions anymore.
Also, if there's any questions, just put them in. And also, if you think of a question about this wine in 15 minutes time, don't worry, just ask your questions. We can adapt. So The next one we're going to pour into our glass is the Solera 1847.
Yes.
And now we're going on to the sweeter part of Jerez, I would say.
Already.
Yes.
Just maybe for the record, there are a lot of sherry wines. Now we have the sweet profile in the lineup, but next to that, we have plenty of dry ones as well. So we have the Fino, you have the Manzanilla. It's kind of like a Fino, but from Sanlúcar. You have the Oloroso, you have Amontillado, Pasado, all different sherries, all their own character. So yeah, just that
That's also it's good that you say that, because that's sometimes it's forgotten. For a lot of people, sherry is sherry, like and they don't know the difference between all these things. But there's actually a very, very wide variety, not only just in styles, but also between bodegas, and there's so much to discover in this style of drink. I think.
100%. It's with most fortified wines. It's just unknown, and if you go there, we both went there, Jeroen,
Mhm.
together. But if you go there, then the love grows. If you don't like that, yeah, then yeah.
I think I was a fan of sherry already before I went there for the challenge. That was actually the year that Yuri Visser from Belroy's was competing. But it really clicked when we had a tasting hosted by Antonio Flores.
Yeah.
So the big blender from Gonzalez Byass, and he doesn't speak any English, so he hosted it in Spanish, but it was translated. But just the way he talks about his product. Product is a really bad word in this context, but the way he talks about his wine, his sherry, is so full of passion and love that you just can't help becoming a fan during a session like that.
I was the first time I saw him was a bit shaking on my knees because he was in the jury of the final.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, you're always a bit stressed on those moments. A stage before 90 people and then the four jury.
Hmm.
But no, beautiful man. If you talk to him, of course he came after we had um, a little word of English, but
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but he compared the drink to the sunshine from Andalusia caught in a glass. That's what he called it. So well,
Beautifully said.
there you go. Back to the more mundane things, like we have the Solera 1847 in our glass. What kind of sherry is this? How do we explain this to people?
Yes, so this is basically a blend of sherries. So we have two sherry wines. We have a very dry one, the Oloroso, and we have a very sweet one, the Pedro Jimenez.
Hmm.
Oloroso, maybe started there. That's a sherry wine. The other way around from the Fino. So this wine had, from the beginning, had oxidation.
Hmm.
So that brings a totally different palette, totally different color. It's much darker. It's more like amber, maybe even dark brown in the glass. And this sherry wine is made from the Palomino grape, which is basically the grape of the sherry wine.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have three grapes in the sherry region: the Palomino, the Pedro Jimenez, and the Moscatel. The last two ones are the sweet ones. That's the smallest percentage of the sherry wines or of the production of the grapes. But yeah, so Oloroso oxidated Palomino grapes. They're gonna ferment the sherry until a point of like the wine, sorry, the musts, until a point of 11, 12% ABV. And then they're going to fortify the wine, fortify with neutral grape spirit.
Hmm.
and then they get to a point of 18, and that's the end alcohol percentage of the Oloroso. And then you have the long process on the sherry casks, of course. So that's the Oloroso, and then on the side we have the Pedro Jimenez, which is a totally different picture. That's a very, very, very sweet grape. For them, not sweet enough. So what do? Is when they are ripe, they pick them and put them on the soil. The soil, Albarino, if I'm not wrong.
Albariza, yeah.
Is a very chalk-rich soil, which holds the temperature, which holds humidity as well for the roots of the grape. But so they put the grapes on the ground and just let it sunbath for to reduce in liquids in the grape. So it's almost a raisin when they squeeze the juice out of the grapes, which makes it, of course, very sweet, the wine.
Yeah, very concentrated in sugar content, very high. It's like syrupy almost.
Yeah, 100%. And then so when they start the fermentation, because of the sweetness, it only goes upon 7 ABV. And that's because the sugar is interfering. There is too much food for the yeast.
The yeast basically eats themselves to death.
Yeah, kind of. So what they do then is same process as the Oloroso. They fortify it until 15, and then also the process on the barrels, on the casks, sherry casks. So this wine, the Solera, had 75% of Oloroso and 25 of Pedro Jimenez, which makes it a wine which has a sugar residue of 128 grams of sugar per liter, which is quite high.
Yeah, that's more than Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
Coca-Cola is about 10 grams per 100 milliliters, I think. So yeah.
So yeah, indeed. So yeah, a lot of residue. There's a bunch of sugar.
Yeah. So and you get this really nice balance between the oxidation of the Oloroso, the kind of the drier notes you have there, and then the sweetness that kicks in from the PX. For those that like the sweetness, the nectar is coming, so that's the 100% PX. That's a bit later on. So if you can leave something in your glass from this, you can compare these two in sugariness, in sweetness afterwards. So yeah, a very dangerous drink, Martin is saying.
That's totally correct.
Yeah.
So it's totally correct what you said, Jeroen. So the Oloroso has this character, the Pedro Jimenez. I would say the Oloroso and the sherry wine, like typical Oloroso, brings a bit of a nutty character to the drink. And that's what you get in the drink. It's a bit of maybe a bit of hazelnuts. There is a nutty character in there. And then
I think most people here in the session are whiskey fans, and they will know this character from sherry matured whiskey, but because most of the sherry casks that are used are Oloroso casks.
And then the PX, I work with PX quite often in my cocktails as well, and it's something that you have to be very careful with because it can take over a cocktail. Why am I saying it's like you definitely have PX in there. You can smell it from far away. The raisins, it's the dates that you have.
It's not a drink that hides itself.
No. So in this plant, it's beautifully, it's spoken beautifully.
Yeah. How would you use this Solera cream, the Solera 1847? In what type of cocktail would you use this?
Well, like you said, the very logic move to do is to use this wine with a spirit, like you were telling, for example, an Oloroso finished whiskey. So whiskey, a rum could be a nice match. A brandy, like Lepanto, for example.
Lepanto is one of the brandies from Gonzalez Byass, of course. Yeah.
That's also the second cocktail that I had made for the competition. Was a cocktail with Lepanto and with Solera. So I know it's a good match. But yeah, I would go to the aged spirits because they have that character as well.
Yeah, so you would look for all the spirits you named were like things that have or that add to one of the components of this sherry,
yes, 100%.
and then go build on that. Yeah.
Yeah, it would be quite difficult, I guess, if you go, for example, for an unaged rum or something
Or a
with
gin, or that would be like.
digital notes.
Yeah.
It's always possible. You always have to try it, but
Yeah.
on paper, it would seem interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Good question from Philip. This is a completely different sherry than the Fino. How would you serve this? Is this also wine glass? I think this is more like a smaller serve in a tasting glass for me.
So I would drink all my sherries in a wine glass.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about a small wine glass, not these, not like the Bordeaux wine glasses where you can put
Yeah.
1 liter of wine in there. But this could be served in a small wine glass as well, and also a bit chilled. Not as cold as the Fino, because you're gonna miss out a lot of the aroma
Mm-hmm.
of the notes, but also just like you would drink a red wine or something,
Okay.
or maybe even a bit less. I'm thinking about 10 degrees, something like that.
Yeah.
Not,
Just under cellar temperature, basically.
yeah, no room temperature.
No.
Because the sweetness is taking over the profile in
Okay.
this drink. Then
I think Joren or Bjorn, I don't know if they're both there yet, is suggesting to combine this with some agricole rum to balance the sweetness.
you could definitely try it. It depends of which agricole rum you use. If you have tropical notes, banana, pineapple, that kind of things, why not? With the nuts and with the raisins would be a very nice match. But again,
Probably not the really young vegetal green agricole style rum.
that's the one that I would stay away from. But prove me wrong, please.
Yeah. Joren, that's a challenge for you.
I still have to come to.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right, and then Jean is asking, Solera is also a way or a system for aging sherry. Yeah, should we talk about the Solera because this is named Solera, so it's logical to talk about this here. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. So that's the famous way of the sherry wine. Almost all sherry wines follow the way of the Solera system, which is basically it makes that you can it's very difficult to make a vintage for a sherry. There are some exceptions. I'm not gonna dive into that. But for example, the phenols, they have an age, a year label on them. But most of the times, all the sherry wines, almost all the sherry wines follow the Solera system. And that's something beautifully. If you walk into the bodega, you see different casks stapled on each other, like 4 to 5.
I think it's yeah, I don't know how many. I'll look it up while you're talking.
There is a reason they don't go too high, and that's just weight.
Yeah.
You don't want the one in the bottom leaking. You don't want any cask leaking, of course, but the ones in the bottom are the oldest most of the times, and those are the ones that they're gonna put out the sherry to bottle. But the Solera system basically said is you put new sherry wine in the upper cask, and every couple of months, every couple of years, you're gonna pour a bit from that cask in the next cask, in the layer under that. And the same process with the next, which basically means that the sherry wine that you are drinking now has a very, 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 very small percentage of the oldest sherry wine there is in the world, because you're constantly mixing.
Continuous blending of older and younger sherries. That's actually the idea behind it.
And the big idea of that is to create a constant product. So they want to have a constant product that always stays the same, and that's the way they do Solera.
I just looked it up. It's usually 4 to 5 criaderas in a Solera system. So criadera is one level.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Cool stuff. What is everybody thinking about the Solera 1847? I already saw that GMU, I don't know who that is, but preferred the Solera cream over the Fino and Rama up till now. Because it's more sweet, so you're in for a good time because there's more sweetness coming. Maybe we should pour the next one already, and of course, anything you still want to add, just put it in the chat. But the next one, we're going to the Matusalem 30,
Yes.
which is a very, very special sherry wine.
It's a very beautiful.
Ah, hey, GMU, it's Julie from Cinoco. Hi, Julie. So the Matusalem 30. And this says on the label, Vinum optimum rare signatum.
You can translate that for me.
Yeah, the I think it's like VORS. It's like the best wine from rare designation, something like that. But it's a special wine.
That's for sure.
How is this made, or what is special about this, Robbe?
So this one is the big brother of the Solera cream that we tried just right now. It's the same base. So like I said, Oloroso, Pedro Jimenez, 75, 25 is totally the same. The only big difference in this one is the age that we're talking about. So the Solera cream was first separately aged for 4 years. Then they put them together and aged it another 4 years in the specific Solera. With the Matusalem, they did the same. So they aged the wines separately for 15 years and put it into a Solera system of the Matusalem for another 15 years, which adds up to 30 years of
aging.
Aging, yeah, which is a beautiful wine, of course.
So, and if I understand correctly, there is a different Solera system just for this wine, for the Matusalem.
Yeah. So every sherry wine has his own Solera. You're not gonna mix, otherwise your average wine is gone. If you would the Solera cream that we tried before and put it into the Matusalem, the depth of the wine would be gone. So that's why they are very careful, and you have all different Soleras, even in different buildings. So in the bodega, you have, for example, one of the big, how do we say, halls, is specifically for Fino and Enrama. Another one is Oloroso, and next to that, with a wall, Amontillado. And that's because they were looking for the most optimal place to put that cherry wine. We're gonna put it there because there the wind hits first. So that's the idea, to find the best place. So if you do the tour in the
which everybody should do, you should go there because it's really good to do.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
If you do the tour in the bodega, you're gonna find the Vors or the Matusalem, beautiful casks at the end. more into like how do you say, surrounded.
Yeah.
Surrounded. There is not a lot of winds going in the building there. So yeah,
It's a
yeah.
bit like in the supermarkets, they put the most special stuff all the way in the back, and the stuff that everybody needs is more in the front. So yeah.
Mhm.
All right. Also, talking about these warehouses from Gonzalez Byass, there should be a cask somewhere with your name on it now, then,
So
or not?
I hope so. But
Okay.
so we had an opportunity. So all the finalists of the national competitions came there, and then just before the finals, we had the opportunity to write our name down on a cask.
Mhm.
So I think it's still there.
It
Let's.
should be.
It should
I
be.
think when we were there, there's this whole area with all kinds of casks from with lots of famous people, but also with all the winners from the Tio Pepe Challenge. So it
Okay.
should be there. But there's casks from Ayrton Senna. I think we saw the one from our king. He also has a cask somewhere lying about there. So well,
Yeah, yeah. Beautiful.
signed.
Yeah. Yeah, I did put my signature on the barrel. That's yeah.
It's a little fun geocache for people who want to go there. Just go into the warehouse and look for Robbe's name on one of the casks. So that's always fun to do that kind of stuff.
Good luck.
Um, Maybe back to the wine in our glass. So the Matusalem. Yeah, what do you do with this? Serve it like this? Do you use this in cocktails? Do you what would you suggest?
I
This is a
always
very complex thing to use. I feel.
yes. So I always tend to stay away from to to use those beautiful drinks in a cocktail.
Hmm.
Of course, all the other drinks that we tried as well are beautiful on its own, but they lean towards, for example, a refreshing cocktail or a strong cocktail. You could use it in a cocktail to be decadent, like we
Hmm.
said, but this product is too beautiful on itself for me personally. For me, so I would rather drink it like this than use it in a cocktail because it would lose too much of its character.
Hmm.
Um, yeah,
I
yeah.
think this one is more suited for like food pairing with like a dessert or some nice cheese or something like that.
Percent cheese. That's what we had. Plenty, like all days that we were there, there was a pattern of cheese somewhere. So that's the perfect match. Like a cheese with nice character, like a goat cheese or from cheap, like a manchego.
Yeah,
Those are the cheeses to go. Yeah.
so perfect. Yeah. Jean is asking 20 cl in a wine glass. I wouldn't put 20 cl of this in a wine glass. I think the measure should be a little bit smaller on these kinds of sherries.
Yeah, even a wine glass, even a classic glass of wine, 20 centiliters is a big
Well,
glass.
Jean owns a really nice bar in Roeselare, and he gives really generous serves. So it's
Right,
right, eh,
I'm
Jean?
gonna come to you.
Yeah.
But no, especially this wine, I think we are almost talking about a double shot.
Yeah,
So 6 CLs.
something
Um,
like that. Yeah.
yeah, that's something that you think about. Just take the time for the drink. It's very important for this one.
Yeah. And coming back to what we said earlier about the Fino sherry not keeping too well for a long time if you open the bottle, this is the kind of sherry that does keep a little bit longer, I feel.
Yeah, 100%. The 75% of Oloroso is speaking there. Oloroso wine. I'm not going to say open the bottle and a year after that it's going to be the same, but it basically it was designed to be in a room with oxygen, so that's makes it much easier to you can keep it much longer than a fino for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's the rule is if the drink has been made by oxidation, then the oxygen has already done its work. So it can't really change it too much after this. So it's like with Madeira, for example. If you have really nice Madeiras, they are completely oxidized, so they don't really change anymore after you've opened the bottle. So.
Yeah. It's just keep it out of the sun, and like any drink, like any bottle, and then enjoy. And especially with the sugar content, it always also helps to preserve the drink much longer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Talking about sugar content, should we go to the nectar?
Are you ready?
Have you noticed I am really good at making little bridges towards the next drinks?
Yes.
So nectar, which is a fully Pedro Jimenez wine, and you already talked a little bit about this. What can you still add? Well, maybe this is the kind of wine that people should try if you haven't already, because I know that some of you know Pedro Jimenez and know the nectar, but if you haven't already, just let us know in the chat what you think about this, and also if you put it into your glass, swirl it around a little bit and see what it does to your glass. Always nice to do.
I was about to say the same, 100%.
Yeah.
That's what you need to do with the PX.
Beautiful black color.
It even just it almost sticks to the glass.
As I said, it's syrupy, it's liquid raisins. But so good. I was almost going to swear saying so good, but I shouldn't do that. No, I shouldn't do that on air. So I won't.
No, but this wine, yeah, a lot of people. This wine needs a bit of explanation as well, I guess.
Yeah, I think so.
If you don't talk about this and you pour this for people at the wrong moment, it could be an awful wine. But if you tell the story, how it's made, and if you drink it at the right moment, also with a bit of cheese or a nice dessert, chocolatey dessert,
vanilla ice cream.
Oh yeah, it's the most beautiful match. I sometimes I just take a little glass of PX and just enjoy it. It's if you think about it, it's a beautiful product. A beautiful product. How they made a wine with this sugar content, to be precise. This has 370 grams per liter.
It's almost half of what's in your glass is sugar.
Yeah.
That's it, you know? Well, yeah, it's quite easy. I mean, 370 grams, so that means 37% is sugar. And then you have the alcohol content, which is 15%. So there's 50, so that's over half is sugar and alcohol. That's beautiful stuff.
All natural sugar.
All natural, yeah, sure. I do feel like, because I often have these kinds of drinks on the table if I'm hosting tastings. This is the kind of sherry that you can use to serve to people who come and tell you they don't like sherry, because usually they don't like sherry because they only know sherry from their grandmother that's been sitting in a cupboard and it's completely dry and bitter, and if you give them this, they go like, wow, what's this?
Yeah, indeed. It's the big surprise. If the first time that I tried this, it was in Jerez itself. They gave me a little word of explanation, and I was like surprised. It was a beautiful experience. But it makes it lets you see what you can do with the grapes there in the region. It's a fact. It's the driest and the sweetest fortified wine in the world. The Fino and the PX. Everything in the world is in between. So
yeah. That's what I was going to say. I mean, when we were talking earlier about the variety that's in sherry as a wine, if you just take the Fino and Rama and put it next to the PX, well, that's how broad it goes.
Yeah. And someone that doesn't know sherry, like you said, never gonna believe that. For example, a PX is a sherry wine.
Yep.
If you know, you're never gonna believe it. So beautiful product that should get a bit more attention.
Yeah. I feel the same way. And I also know that this kind of product, the nectar, the PX sherry wine, is a gift to cocktail makers. You can
Oh.
do so much stuff with this.
Yeah. You can incorporate it in. I'm not going to say any drink, but again, like the same story like before. It's you can go many ways. Everything that works with the deep flavors that you have, and you have plenty of options, of course. You can incorporate Pedro Jimenez. I would be careful with the wine because, like I said before, it can take over quite easily.
Mhm.
It depends of what you want. If you want to make the PX the star of the cocktail, of course, why not? Um, but otherwise, sometimes a bar spoon creates a beautiful extra layer of complexity in a cocktail that people are looking like, what is in there? I get some raisins, and then
Yeah,
it's PX, and then it's like, yeah, of course, it's
it
raisins.
starts to click. Yeah. I was just thinking when we were talking about this, it's a bit like Angostura bitters. You can use it anywhere, and it makes everything better, but with moderation.
Yeah. Go too far, and it takes over, and it's the only thing you're drinking.
Mhm.
That's how I use it in my cocktails. It's like bitters. Okay, not in dashes, but yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
to,
too syrupy to do dashes.
yeah. It will be little drops coming out
Yeah,
of the bottle.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Julie, who was liking the Solera earlier, this one is too syrupy for her. Well, yeah, uh, I can understand. It is very syrupy, very sweet.
mm.
But
And honestly, this wine, if to make it a bit more palatable, I would chill it again. Just chill it a bit, and then it's still gonna be syrupy, even a bit more than
mhm,
texture wise, but the sweetness is gonna get a bit down. That's what the temperature does. It
mhm.
just tempers everything, acidity, sweetness. It makes it all more enjoyable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you really want to be convinced, just a scoop of vanilla ice cream, pour some of this over, and then a few drops of really good olive oil. And then you've got the best dessert in the world. So yeah,
Nice.
there you go, Lucas. Vanilla ice cream and pour it on. Yeah, that's it. But I actually tried it a couple, a while ago with some really nice olive oil in there, and it does add a whole lot of experience to it.
I
So
totally
yeah.
get that. Even a bit of salt, but
Oh yeah, some sea salt.
it's like caramel and salt. It's like the sweetness is there. Use it.
I think we're going to need to end the session here because I will need to go out and get some vanilla ice cream now.
Thank you. Bye
Yeah,
bye.
thanks. Bye. That was fun. Yeah. Um, yeah. Just very cool stuff. And just to finish off this little subsection of the tasting, because we've had the four sherries now. Um, I think we explained or had people taste the variety that's possible in sherry. And this is, as you said in the beginning, Robbe, mainly focusing on the sweeter side of the sherry, but there's a whole lot to discover on the drier and the oxidative side too. So
Yeah. Just go to a special shop. Try them, please. For example, the Amontillado.
mm,
Also, personally, I'm a big fan of all the products, but like Amontillado, the Palo Cortado, all of them just take the time for the drink. There went a lot of time through the to the wine, and and that's something you have to experience. And yeah, cherry wine is a beautiful product. I use it
Mm.
a lot of cocktails.
It's a good question from Lucas. Can you explain the differences of some other sherries like Palo Cortado, not included here? I think, of course, you could. I think, Robbe, but would it take us too far? Because there's a lot to wrap out here, I
Well,
think.
I can maybe shorten it down to a
Yeah.
very small piece.
Yeah.
So you have just gonna go like this from the phenol. So phenol is not oxidated. You have a floor layer, which is basically like kind of yeast, um, serving like the barrier between the oxygen. There is no oxygen in the phenol, so that makes it pale, like very clear wine. The next in the line, I would say, next to the Rama, would be the Amontillado. Amontillado had both processes. So it started as a fino, and at the end, it developed as a oloroso. In two ways it could go. So it could go naturally because the fino is there too long and the yeast is dying. So if the yeast dies, there is an opening for the oxygen. So there starts a little oxidation. It also could be just manually by adding extra alcohol. The yeasts on top dies, and then you have a couple of years of oxidation, which creates the Amontillado. Then we have Yellow Rosso. It's full oxidation. We talked about it. And then the Palo Cortado is a quite special one. Palo Cortado was invented by casks that were off. They thought there was a little mistake in the wine. So it's a very special aging, which sometimes occurs. It's something that normally you can't create, but of course, in these days with science, you can do a lot. So you can create the environment to create a Palo Cortado. You could put it in between a Amontillado and a Oloroso. And then after that, you have the PX and the Vors. Yeah, so that's basically the big line. I think I don't hear you.
I muted myself because I was looking something up. No, I was saying really well explained in a very concise and brief way. If you want to get more in depth with this, I was just looking it up on the YouTube channel from Meug. We actually did 2 sessions about the Gonzalez Byass products in the years that have passed, and they're still on there. So there's one with Dirk van den Bak from Cinoco and Didier Banfort. And there's also one with Joao Vicente, who was normally going to do this session, but he couldn't do this. Who's the brand ambassador for Gonzalez Byass. And there we go really in depth about all these sherries. So you can rewatch this on the YouTube channel. And also, if you don't like watching YouTube, I actually did a podcast with Joao by the pool, Robbe, at the hotel in Jerez when I was there. And we recorded about 50 minutes of podcast about sherry and about his experiences. So that's also you can find that on Spotify, etc. It's still on there. So there you go.
Definitely gonna look that up.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a really, really fun podcast to do it by the pool with, as you said, a bucket of ice, a bottle of Fino, and just a nice chat with Joao, who's a
How it should be. How it should be.
as we say here in Belgium, een crème van een vent. Great guy. So, from the sherry, we'll move on to this other line of products that Gonzalez Byass has created, which is the whiskies, the Nomad whiskies, which is a really, really fun brand, I think, a really fun type of whiskey. Let's just put something in the glasses first before we start talking about this. So what's the first one we're going to have?
It's the Nomad Outland.
The normal Outland, is that the one we're going to have, not the Irish?
Yeah, you can start with the Irish. Yeah,
I think we were going to start with the Irish because it's just a little bit more tempered than the other two. So,
it is indeed. Um,
so the Nomad Ireland is the one you have to pour in your glass. Well, you have to. You can pour in your glass now because we're going to talk about this. And I'm actually very curious because I haven't had this one before. So there you go. So maybe start at the beginning, Robbe. Nomad, what's the idea behind this brand?
yeah, so Nomad, it's in the name itself. The whiskey is traveling like a nomad. That's the idea of the name. And
I'll just put. We got a presentation from Joao, and I'll just put that on, and I'll follow your explanation while you're talking.
Beautiful, beautiful. Before the presentation, just on the name itself. So my personal kind of view, it's a beautiful product because they just changed the ways of working. Normally, you would take the cask and bring it to Scotland, Ireland, America, name it. But Gonzalez Byass had the idea of change the route and brought the whiskey to the bodega. And it's a beautiful idea. It's strange that nobody thought about it earlier, but yeah, it's a very nice product and a very nice name as well.
Yeah, I guess the only disadvantage is that you can't call it Scotch anymore, or when you do it like this. So that's probably why people haven't done it before, but they should have, and I agree because it's it makes for a good product.
Mm-hmm. And we already have enough Scotch in the world, so
yes,
another Scotch would be another one in the world. But yeah, the presentation. Let's see.
Yeah, let's see if I can make this move. Oh yeah, that's a couple of things we've already seen. We're not going to do the video because yeah, there we go.
Mm-hmm. A little sip before we start to talk. Very important as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, over here, you see a bit of the history about sherry casks in the whiskey world, and that's like why a cask was designed. First of all, it was shipment.
Mm-hmm.
So just like many wines or brandies that went around the world, sherry was traveling in a cask. And for example, these casks were shipped to England. The big problem that they had in England, or no, in Jerez, was that those casks were too well developed.
Yeah.
That no casks came back. So all the distilleries over there, the whiskey makers kept the casks to reuse them and maybe not by the meaning like I want to create an extra layer of complexity like we do now, like finishing a cask.
Mm.
They used it not like that, but just because those were very good barrels.
Yeah, there were barrels and they were there and they were basically cheap.
Yeah,
that's the idea. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a big issue for Jerez, of course, because they had to use the casks that you use for sherry wine, for a good sherry wine, are basically casks that has been there for ages. That's a good sherry cask. They keep using them until there is a leak or until there is something wrong with the cask, and then they're gonna repair it to use it again. That's the idea. If you have to restart the Solera again and again with new casks, it was a big problem. So that's why they started bottling the sherry wine and shipping bottles instead of shipping the casks. So that's a big starter for whiskies using sherry casks in the history.
Yeah.
To change that, because of course I think we all know plenty of spirits that had a sherry cask finish or had the whole process on a sherry cask. There is a very big demand of sherry casks by the whiskey industry because it's growing as well.
Mm-hmm.
So they started by seasoning the casks. What is seasoning? It's basically putting sherry wine on a barrel or a cask that has been bought by the whiskey distiller. And they keep it in Jerez with sherry wine for a couple of years, minimum 1 year. But on the demand of the distillery, they're gonna look and they're gonna decide like we want to age the sherry wine for 2 years, and yeah, of course the cost is gonna be more. So they season the casks and then they ship the cask empty to the whiskey distiller, and there the whiskey distiller is gonna use the cask to finish it or use it in the whole process. Over here we see the wood, the difference. It's something we all know, I guess, or most of us know. So you have two different kinds of oak: the American oak, the European oak. The preferred oak for sherry casks is the American oak. Why? Because it's much easier to get,
Mm-hmm.
and it used to be cheaper. But now, because of the demand is going up, the prices are going up as well. So yeah.
The main thing is that there's much more American oak about than there is European oak, because there's
Yeah.
much more oak being grown there. And in France, for example, the French oak is just in a couple of regions and quite strictly regulated which oak where oak can grow. And
Mm-hmm.
also, it takes about 80 to 100 years for a tree to grow into
Yeah.
cask making size, basically.
Yeah, and also the type of wood. So
Oh,
we have the American oak, the European oak. American oak, it has a different structure. It's easier to handle, so it's easier to bend because, of course, the staves they start like this, and they need to bend them day by day to get the shape of the barrel, of course. So it's much easier to do that with, for example, American white oak instead of the European oak, which is uh, much denser in structure.
mhm.
So that's also an advantage for the cooperage to create the cask. Yeah, and then of course the character of the wood. You want to create a final product. In that final product, you're looking for certain flavors, aromas, and then you're going to decide like which wood am I going to use. For example, over here on the PowerPoints, you see that the tannins are much higher or a bit higher in the European oak, and that's something that you see in Armagnac. That's a brandy that is aged on European oak.
Mhm.
It's much darker. It has more
Yeah.
tannins. It's
It's
drier.
especially the Limousin oak that they also use in cognac gives you a really special kind of aging. I also
Mhm.
read about this, Robert, that it also really depends on terroir, because depending on where the Quercus robur or the European oak is growing, you can get it more closer to the American oak than some American oaks that grow in other places in the States. So it's really a very it's a whole area of science that's quite undiscovered yet. So
It, for me, every fresh product is terroir.
yeah.
If you look, if we're talking about grapes, it's very common to talk about terroir. But even grains for a whiskey is
Mhm.
terroir. Your creating the base products in a certain environment, certain place, temperature. The ground is
yeah, the soil, the temperature, the climate, and even the people. Well, the surrounding factors, like what's next to your field or your forest, for example.
Yeah, and wood is, for me, wood is an ingredient of the whiskey. It is actually, it's an ingredient. If you see at PowerPoint extractables, it's something that the spirit does. It extracts something that we call free radicals out of the wood, and even other products that makes the texture different of the spirits.
Well, I think the most obvious one is the one at the bottom there, the vanillin. If you see, there's five times as much vanillin in American oak as in European oak, and it's logical that something aged in American oak will give you more vanilla flavors, because that's something that's soluble in alcohol, so it will take on the flavors. So,
yeah, that's
well, not too much science, please, because.
Then manufacturing. So in Jerez, they manufacture the casks as well. So they create them, and then they're gonna listen to the distiller again. Like, would you like the cask toasted, or like you can go light toasted, medium toast, hard toast. You can burn the casks.
Char, yeah.
Charring. That's more for the American market. But yeah, they just listen to the demand.
Yeah. Again, the seasoning that you talked about already at the bodegas. This is maybe something fun to show people. This is the area where sherry can be made.
Yeah, correct. So the triangle, like we say. So we have Jerez de la Frontera, is the capital city, you would say, then Sanlúcar and Santa Maria. So those are the places where you can make sherry wine. As in, you don't have to, the grapes can be grown around in the region. You see the wheat fields as well. I guess those are regions where a lot of grapes are growing. But it needs to be, to have the name of sherry, it needs to be aged, created and aged in one of the three cities. That's the idea of the triangle. It's like you're making a champagne wine. It's totally
champagne,
the same.
or in Belgium, Geuze in the Pajottenland.
Yeah.
Same
it's
thing.
Protected, and it's a beautiful thing that it's protected. Otherwise, everybody runs away with the names, and you don't know.
Well, they actually they were making similar wines in, for example, Australia and New Zealand, but they actually changed the name to something different now. I'll look it up what it was, but they started naming their port style wines and sherry style wines for with a different name, just not to have the confusion with the Spanish version and the Portuguese versions.
It's something that is a bit difficult. You have a law, and for example, the law. I guess I'm not sure if it is a European law that is protecting the name, or a law around the world. So yeah, in the United States, they could. It happened as well that they named their sparkling wine a champagne wine.
Yeah.
And then the only thing that champagne can do is sue them and hope.
And they usually win.
Yeah, they usually win. Yeah. Because it's I think by the years it's
yeah
already.
All right, so we're at the whiskey now, but I'll just scroll along towards the whiskey we're having now.
Yes. It's the last one in the PowerPoint.
Yeah, well, you know what? I'm just going to stop the sharing for a second, and I'll look it up while we're talking on Apera casks. Yes, Lucas, that's what I was looking for. The name. That's what they call sherry and port wines in Australia nowadays.
Ooh, didn't know that one.
All right, so let's go to the whiskey, and now I think we're going to just give our audience a little bit more of a role. What do you think about this? What are you tasting? What are you smelling in this Irish Nomad whiskey? And why do I ask this? Because it's basically the question on the slide that you're going to see in a second. There you go. So guys, let us know. What do you think? You had some time tasting this already. And so the idea for this one, Robbe, was it's triple distilled Irish whiskey
Yes.
that was transported to Jerez de la Frontera and then aged in sherry cask, finished in sherry casks in Jerez.
Yeah, 100% correct. So for this particular whiskey, they did a total of 4 years of aging, 3 years in Ireland itself, and then 1 year in Jerez in Oloroso casks. This one is the driest of the whiskey that we're gonna try, so that's why we put it in the first of the lineup, because the rest of the whiskeys, spoil alert, has a bit of resident, a little bit of sugar.
Yeah. There's more PX used there. Good catch there, Lucas. Great Northern Distillery. So yes, this has been the whiskey itself has been produced at Great Northern Distillery, which is the new distillery in the north of Ireland from John Teeling. So that's where this comes from, and then it was finished in Jerez.
This is also the only one for the moment that is 100% malt.
Yeah, the other ones are blends. This is a single malt, which is a big difference also, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Julie wasn't prepared for this one. Too strong for her. Well, yeah, it's whiskey, so it's 41.3%. It's quite nice actually. It does, even though what you sometimes have when you have sherry cask matured whiskies is that the cask takes over, and that you don't have much of the spirit anymore of the profile of the whiskey.
Yeah.
But this one's actually keeps its spirit character very well. I mean, the cask hasn't taken over, I feel.
Yeah, it's nice that you say that. I do remember from the tasting that we had in the Jerez itself that they said it as well. It's not only their footprint that they want to show, as in, it's, for example, in this one Oloroso cask, it's only Oloroso that you're gonna have. No, you have to start from the base products, which is the beautiful Irish whiskey, and they just want to create that extra layer of complexity, depth to the whiskey with the beauty of Jerez. Also very nice to know is normally, like we said before, the seasoning of a cask is the sherry has been there for a year or 2 years on the cask. The advantage that Gonzalez Byass has is that they can choose which casks they use. So they are not going to use a Oloroso that has been seasoned for 2 years.
Yeah.
Beautiful cask.
They use the good casks, yeah. The real casks, as you would basically say. Yeah. That's cool stuff, and because I know the other nomads, the ones we're going to taste after this, and I really enjoy them, but they are really strong on the sherry side, and this is much more subtle, I would say. So cool, yeah, very good whiskey for first drinkers. Rocktails is saying, and then Jean is saying young whiskey, vanilla, some orange peel, some walnuts. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, that's the profile indeed we're looking for. So yeah. This is quite a young product, I feel. It's not on the market. It hasn't been on the market for long.
I think it's the last addition to the lineup.
I thought so, yeah.
maybe last year. I really don't. Oh, maybe this year even. What I heard in the bodega
Ja,
in de hang, had ik dat wel zeggen.
ja,
Uh,
ja, in de gang.
is that they are looking maybe to the next one for a Japanese one.
Ah, Mizunara cask.
Yeah, to bring home.
Ah, nee, or a Japanese whiskey finished in a
Japanese
sherry cask.
whiskey
Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay. Oh, that would
that
be
is.
cool.
Yeah. So
All right.
forward to
Maybe
that.
we should convince them. And I don't know. I know Julie is here from Cinoco, but maybe there's some other people too. We should convince them to have a Belgian Nomad whiskey and get some grain whiskey from Braakman, for example, and ship
Course.
it over there and have it finished. So Julie, make it happen, please. All right. Usually when Dirk or one of the other guys is around, they always say we'll make it happen, and then yeah,
Yeah.
it never happens, but
And then
it's good.
radio silence.
Yeah. Ah, Julie's gonna talk about this to Joao. So if you do that too, Robbe, and I'll send him a message too. So
We're gonna do it together.
we're gonna, yeah, we'll do, well, yeah, we'll make it like a Belgian Spanish cooperation. Would be fun, I think. Would be a cool bottling for Belgium, for the Belgian market. Yeah. All right. Maybe we should go on to probably the Nomad version, the Nomad whiskey that most people have known or have tried already, which is just the Outland, it's called, I think. It doesn't really have a special name, just the Nomad Outland whiskey. And this is the Scotch one, finished in sherry casks, which is completely different in profile. For those of you who haven't tried this one before, remember the nectar. Rocktails is already putting an order in for the Belgian Nomad whiskey, so that's good. Like to see that one. I'll put the bottle on the screen for you guys. So I think, Robert, the main difference between this one, well, the main differences between this one and the Irish one, this is blended. This is from Scotland, and there were more PX casks involved
Yeah.
in this one, I feel.
Yeah. Indeed. That's something that you have in the nose. Again, like we said before, if a PX passes by, you get it immediately.
Yeah.
And in this case, again, in the nose, but also in the mouth, the smoothness, the roundness of the whiskey. This is the perfect whiskey for a not whiskey lover or a starter in the whiskey world. That would be my recommendation to serve.
Mhm.
So indeed, a blend. So 30% of malt, 70% of grain whiskey. And if I'm not wrong, it's from almost all the regions. So Highlands, Speyside, Lowlands, no island. This
No, Isla, no, that would take over. It's not on the bottle about the regions, but I can imagine that that it's actually, as you say, a blend of different places. Yeah,
Mhm.
I guess also that this one is also fun to work with for cocktails, Robin.
Mhm. For sure, it's this one that I chose for my El Nogal
Hmm.
uh, because of the smoothness that it already has. The cocktail profile that I was looking at was a juicy Manhattan kind of vibe. And with juicy, I'm saying like just like yeah, smooth going. If you sip the cocktail, you never have the burning or the just a beautiful layer in the cocktail.
Hmm.
Um, but this one is it's easy to use in cocktails. It's a
Hmm.
perfect fit, in imagine this as a old-fashioned or something like that. I wouldn't put any acidity in there. It would take over the whiskey again.
Yeah.
It is the star of the show. Like I said, old-fashioned would be perfect.
And also probably take it easy on adding more syrup or sugar to a cocktail, because it also already has a lot of sweetness.
Yeah, yeah. So because of the Pedro Jimenez finish, it has a residue of 12 grams of sugar per liter.
Yep.
So it's a natural way of going in there because of it's not that they add sugar or Pedro Jimenez. It's just the cask that they used took out took out a lot of the sherry,
Yep.
and then you put another spirit in there. It releases. It's like it's physics.
Yeah.
Natural physics.
Yeah. Bjorn and Joran are saying we combine it with green apple.
Would be a nice match for sure. Yeah,
yeah.
a fresh note would be very nice, I guess. Yeah.
It's adding acidity without adding acidity, I think. The green apple has some freshness that you some
It has a freshness,
crispiness. Yeah.
Voila, voila. Where a lemon or a lime would take over again, then
Would be too much.
it would 100% work as a cocktail with, for example, whiskey sour. Of course, it would work, but I think you would lose the nuances of the whiskey.
Yep. Then you might as well use another whiskey then.
Voila, voila.
Yeah. I guess that's always the challenge for you as a bartender, as a cocktail maker, to make the product shine and not just make them how do you say it, inwisselbaar in I don't know how to say it in English. I'll find out. But to make the product shine, to make, as you said, to make one of the products the star of the cocktail, and to make it shine.
Yeah, it depends of which cocktail you're making, and it doesn't need to be always need to be the star. It's just it's what are you looking for? Do you want to use this as your spirit in the whole and all the cocktails that you make? Well, and one it's going to be the star, and the other one it's going to be the background. It really depends of how you see it. But yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Philip. Interchangeable is the word I was looking for. Interchangeable. Thank you, Philip, for being here.
Also, a nice fact that I remembered from the tasting there is so the whiskey from Scotland arrives in bulk, so not in casks, in bulk in Jerez, and they put it on the PX casks. But before they do that, they water it down. So they get the whiskey at 65%, like they do in Scotland most of the times. So barrel proof, cask strength. And over in Jerez, they water it down to 45 before they put it in the cask.
Okay.
Why is that? That's because the more alcohol you have in the base spirits, the faster the exchange is with the cask. For this whiskey, they wanted to have a smooth aging, like a smooth finish. So that's why they watered it down until 45 to slow down the process. Because otherwise, the PX again would take over the whole whiskey, and you wouldn't have the Scotch character. Wouldn't be there anymore, which you have right now in the nose. You still get like a bit of the honey of the space side, the Highlands. It's still in there. The Scotch is still in there. So yeah.
It reminds me of the and I don't know the right terminology for it. What they used to do in bourbon whiskey, they used to also put it on the cask at I think at 100 proof for a long time, because that was better for the aging. But then they changed it to bottling at 62 or 63%, because of course that's more efficient, and as you said, it goes faster. But But there are some bourbon producers still doing these old style, adding water before putting it in the cask.
Yeah, 100%. It's most of the times it's about the money.
Yeah. Everything is about economy for
Yeah.
a long time. So that's why it's fun that they're doing this kind of stuff,
Uh-huh.
kind of disregarding efficiency and going for the product.
Mhm. And before that, they had the whole trial and error phase. They
Mm.
tried a lot of stuff as well. They didn't say like, oh, let's do a PX cost right away. No, they used whiskey that they got and tried it on a Fino, on an Amontillado, Oloroso, PX, and then they looked what which one is the best
Yeah.
match in this case, and then which percentage, which age is the best match, and that's
Mm.
how they came to this product.
Yeah. And as Jean is saying in the chat, Scotland always, well, most Scottish distilleries bottle at 60, fill the casks at 63.5%. There's a couple of exceptions. I think Ardbeg fills higher. I think Auchentoshan fills a little bit higher, but there's a couple of exceptions. But usually they fill at 63.5%. The cask.
I do remember, like in the United States, that's their limit because
Yeah, 62 and
law,
a half in the
uh,
US. Yeah,
law is saying if you go over that, it's not a bourbon
it's
anymore.
not a yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But in Scotland, I don't know if they have a law like
No,
that.
there's no law of filling the casks higher than 63.5, but most of them do because that makes it easier to exchange new make spirit between distilleries and between makers. So
Okay.
yeah, it's just a ways of calculating taxes and excise and stuff like that makes it easier to trade new make spirit.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Yeah, everything is economy.
Yes.
But let's not talk about economy too much and just pour ourselves the last whiskey in the lineup, which is
Yes.
the 10-year-old, which is a treat basically because this is a really cool whiskey that I had to wait a long time before I could try it when it came out because I always seem to miss the bottle when it was open on festivals. But I have tried it before. It's a really cool whiskey. Um, yeah, talk us through it, Robert. What's so special about this one?
So this one is the, like we said before, the big brother of the Nomad Outland. They took it further. So the Outland is a beautiful incoming whiskey, like I said. This one is a beautiful complex whiskey.
Mm.
With this one, you're gonna please everyone for sure. Um, So this one is finished on the Vos that we tried before. So on the
Matusalem.
30-year-old
Oh,
Matusalem. Yeah. So for another 2 years on top. So that makes 10 at the end. So 10 years of aging in three different casks.
yeah.
Which brings, of course, plenty of depth and complexity. And yeah, it's also a beautiful product. The first time I tried it was also in the bodega and at the right place. It was beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so triple casks, as Robert said, it starts out in Scotland. I guess it starts out in a bourbon cask, like most whiskies do in Scotland. And then in Jerez, it finishes on two different types of casks, both PX and Oloroso sherry casks. So yeah, beautiful stuff. A little bit higher in alcohol. It's 43.1. The other two were 41.3. Yeah, but really nice stuff. This.
If I have one little thing for
Yeah.
our guests, I don't know if you have the both next to each other, but a very interesting thing is try them both and let's say in the chat which one has the most residue of sugar in there.
Ah, yeah. Which one is the sweetest? That has the most sugar left in it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's everybody has to guess in the chat which one has the most sugar in it. There's no prizes to be won, but everybody has to guess. Well, even just looking at the two glasses next to each other, you don't really see it in the video, but the 10-year-old is much darker in color, has taken on much more of the cask. I think for doing these kinds of experiments, and I don't know if you agree, Robbe, but it's always about balance and finding the balance between your finishing casks, which are usually quite strong, the PX, the Oloroso, and then the warmer climate in Spain that also adds to a faster maturation. So it's a challenge to keep this balanced. I think.
100%, and that's why they sometimes it only needs 1 year. Why? Because it all goes faster. If you would take that cask, and that's why I'm a big fan of the product as well. If you would take that cask in the other environments in Scotland, like it's always done, it would take maybe 2, 3, 4 years to reach
Yeah.
that we have right here. But because of the heat, because of the wind, it creates a whole other level.
People are scared to guess, Robbe. There's no guesses yet in the chat, but I need your guesses. So, which one is has the most sugar in it? Is it the Nomad Outland or the 10-year-old? And we're not leaving this this session before you have guessed. Aha! The taste is the first one. Philip is following. All right, cool. All right. Some guesses. Robbe has left the building. He probably has some customers in the bar that he has to say that just wait for 15 minutes and then he'll serve them, I guess. Some tasting notes for the 10-year-old, if you guys want to add them. Yeah, there's a couple of guesses now, Robbe. Most of them say it's the 10-year-old, and Martin his yeah, if you know Martin, he's always the one that has to do what the others don't do. So
To be honest, if I am tasting both next to each other, I personally I would say the Outland
mm-hmm.
has
Me
a
too.
smoother kind of finish. Yeah, it gives you the perception that there is more sugar in there.
The PX is more present, so you think there's more sugar. Yeah.
Yes. Maybe I started my question wrong. I gave you already the answer by asking the question.
Yeah. Because why would you ask the question if it's not?
Yeah. But yeah, in the 10-year-old, we have a residue of 19 grams per liter. And I don't know if you remembered, but the Outland was 12.
Yeah. So more sugar in the 10-year-old, yeah.
But it has a drier perception for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's that balance that I was referring to. I mean, the age it's older, so it had more time to get in balance. So the sugar it gets more balanced with all the other flavors, so you don't notice it as much. While the Nomad Outland is more straightforward, almost in your face, more clear what it's trying to do, and the 10-year-old is more subtle.
Yeah, 100%. More subtle, but it has more character. It has more. It's bringing more to the table, I would say. This one, it's a very nice evolution that you have from the Outland.
Yeah, and I guess that's what whiskey lovers, well, spirit lovers, always notice when they're tasting is that age is not the be all and end all. It's not the most important thing, but time does add something that you can't really grasp as a quality, I feel, to spirits.
Yeah. What are you looking for? That's the question that you need to ask yourself. If you have the Nomad Irish that we had before, that's 4 years. Such a beautiful whiskey. And then
Mm.
if you put it next to the 10 years old, which is also a beautiful whiskey, what are you looking for?
Yep.
That's
It's
I
just
think,
I guess it's different moments.
mhm.
Sometimes you need the 10-year-old, sometimes you need the Irish, and sometimes you just really need the Outland.
For sure. Don't forget the Outland.
Yeah, and then for the really hard moments, let's just have a sip of the nectar.
Yeah.
All right, guys. We have tasted the last drink in the lineup. This is the moment that I'm going to ask you all if there's any more questions you'd like to ask Robbe. This is the time. So put them in the chat and I'll pass them on. It's also the time at the tasting, Robbe, that I'm going to start closing up, and I'm going to ask you for like some final notes, ideas, remarks you want to add. Is there anything you haven't said yet that you really want to add?
Now I have to think about that. What do I need to say? Drink more sherry wine, appreciate it more, and drink it the right way. That's the most important thing. It
Mm-hmm.
feels like a little crusades for me over here in my cocktail bar as well. Is talking to the people and let them see the beauty of the products, and that's how we get it sexy again. Like
Yeah, I think it's yeah, make sherry great again, something like that.
yes,
But
voila, voila, voila.
I have another personal crusade, which is make Geneva great again. But that's a whole other thing to talk about. I guess you might agree with me there too.
Definitely.
But it's all about keeping an open mind to trying new things, to keep it to do away with the perceptions and the expectations you have when you hear sherry or any other drink. Give it a shot and try it, and try the good products, and then you'll change your mind probably.
Start from zero. Don't like beautifully said. Don't start with like the expectation
Mhm.
product that you already had in the past. Start from a new line and do it the good way.
Yeah, when tasting sherry, don't think of your grandma, but
Think of us.
unless she's a really sexy grandma. But there you go. uh, a
Beautiful.
last question for you from Philip. What is your favorite cocktail that uses PX?
My favorite cocktail that uses PX. I don't know any classic that uses. There are, I guess, plenty of classics, but where I use it is maybe in a rum old fashioned or something like that. It would work magically. Also in a classic old fashioned. That's my way. I don't add any sugar. I add complexity and sugar, and
Mhm.
that's by adding PX. So try that at home. It's a beautiful match. Yeah.
All right, Robert, until the end of September, your pop-up bar is still open. What's its name and where is it so people can go there?
Thank you for that. Bar Jacobius in Bruges, in the city center of Bruges. We're a little bit hidden, but find us on Google. It's very easy. If you don't find us, just give me a call on Instagram. With pleasure. Eh?
All the good stuff is hidden. There you go. Um, Thank you so much for your time, for closing your bar to be with us tonight. And I hope to see you soon in Jacobius or in your new bar. Let us all know where it ends up being. And thanks for spreading the word about Sherry and Gonzalez Byass and everything we've tasted tonight.
With pleasure, and thank you for being a very great ghost.
Thank you,
Host,
thank you,
host,
thank you,
host.
thank you.
Beautiful.
With pleasure. Everybody in the session, thank you all for being here. If you want to rewatch it, it'll be on YouTube. I'll send you an email with the link. I'll ask Joao if I can share the presentation with you guys too, and keep on spreading the good word about Sherry and Nomad whiskey. And see you all soon at a live event or an online event. as long as we're having something good in our glass. It's always fun. Thanks, and bye-bye.